Whoa, that was difficult to start. And I'm so sorry. This is just trying to figure all this out as a beginner is very difficult. So it's 8:15. I'm sorry I'm late. I had an issue with the time and the feed at the time and where the feed was supposed to go. So we're streaming right now live on YouTube on my channel, Oscar de las Salas. We're streaming on my Facebook page, Oscar de las Salas, and we're streaming on my public page, Oscar de las Salas. We are not able to get on my blog, but you can see this interview on my blog later on. So anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys about how was our weekend. Just to start, it was a fantastic weekend. We got a chance to work with Bob Cooper and Valley Youth Theater on their annual fundraiser. It was fantastic because this time they had to change the fundraiser to a virtual frame, which many nonprofits have to, given the current COVID situation. I hope you are home, you are home in shelter, and you are doing well. We are doing extremely well at home. I'm just recovering, as you know, but it's been quite difficult just to see what's happening out there. So I have my guest waiting right now. But before we get to my guest, I just wanted to remind you that this is going to happen every Wednesday night, and I'm going to be talking to some people within the world of arts. And every other Wednesday, I'm going to have someone that helps the local world um, of nonprofits or is somehow an inspiration to all of us. And I think today we have one person that is just incredible. By the way, she helped us last year. She was part of the Valley Youth Theater annual fundraiser, which is called the Vital Affair. Last year, we were at the Herberger Theater. We didn't have the current situation with COVID. And she is, I don't know how to describe her. I just kept thinking, how do I describe her? And then the only thing that I can say is like the one and only, um, because this is extraordinary person. She's an extraordinary person, and I know her as a friend, and I know a lot of you know her as a friend, and perhaps more, because to some of you, she has been part of your formation as a person. She touched many people's hearts and many people's lives, one way or another. She's a treasure to all of us, gone through tough ones in the past, and now she's going to tell us tonight what is coming in her life. So let's see, how do we do with my special guest? So before we get to her, I just wanted to remind you guys that she is also an author. She has two books. She's going to talk to us about her latest book. I'm looking here and there because I'm trying to figure out the latest technical situations that I have that I had to deal with. I am doing this. I wish you could see it. I had a camera here so you could see what is happening in our own dining room. I put all these gift wrapping paper that we used to have in the garage, and then I decided to put it as a background just to create some sort of studio. We have two big lights that we purchased because we were doing a live broadcast with my friend Risa Costis to create the preliminary of what was Saturday's Valley Youth Theater annual fundraiser that went virtual, like I just mentioned. But before we get to our guests, I'm just going to do a quick introduction. Actually, this is the introduction that I do to all my guests. I learned how to put this together. This is all me clicking here and there. Carrie Pena taught me how to do streaming from my Facebook page, from my computer. There's nothing technical. I'm not paying anyone. I don't watch TV. And then I talk to you guys online all the time. But this is all homemade. I am full of iPads, phones, and it's all homemade. So I hope you guys forgive me while I get the technical portion figured out, but also understand that I'm doing this because I need to be close to my community. I need to see what is happening from nonprofits to arts to the world of development, which is part of my business. But I just want to see how we gather together and how do we help each other. And we're going to say hello to one person that truly help us and truly make a difference in our community. This is it. And that is the person that we have with us today. How about that, my LETITIA FYRE? How are you? We cannot hear you. There must be something with your headphones. So check and see if you can check your headphone settings. Maybe you have them on mute. Um, let's see what's going on. I was listening to her earlier. Okay, 1 second. So we're gonna take her out of camera, figure it out. We'll be right back with you. Check your headphones. This is technical stuff. Let's see. Duke is working on it. While we get her back, I just wanted to run again that video because I just wanted to tell you that this is basically my present to whomever accepts to be with us on this broadcast. But I wanted to show you before we get to LETITIA and we go through all this craziness is I'll be astonishing. with Value Theater. 2 Second Media produced this completely donated to Value Theater. Want to go just so you guys can listen to this. Come on. And I hope
Jacobs. I'm 15 years old, and I'm from Chandler, Arizona. BYT has taught me so much. It's always been a place where I can truly be myself, my best self, and I found a true home at BYT. And I wouldn't be here today without all their guidance since a very young age. Today I'll be performing Astonishing for You from Little Women. This song has such a special place in my heart. It reminds me to keep working and persevering even when times get tough. And right now everyone needs a little hope, so I hope I can bring that to you, and thanks so much.
Who is he with his marry me, with his ring and his marry me, the nerve to call? This is not what was meant to be. How could he ruin it all with those 2 words? I thought I knew him, thought he knew me. When did it change? What did I miss? A kiss, when I thought all along that we were meant to forge frontiers. How could I be so wrong? How I need my sisters here. If I can't share my dreams, what were they for? And I thought our promise meant we would never change and never part. I thought together we'd amaze the world. How can I live my dreams or even start when everything has come apart? I thought home was all I'd ever want. My attic, all I'd ever need. Now nothing feels the way it was before, and I don't know how to proceed. I only know I'm meant for something more. I've got to know if I can be astonishing. There's a life that I am meant to lead, a life like nothing I have known. I can feel it, and it's far from here. I've got to find it on my own. Even now I feel its heat upon my skin, a life of passion that holds me from within, a life that I am making to begin. There must be somewhere I can be astonishing, astonishing. I'll find my way, I'll find it far away. I'll find it in the unexpected and unknown. I'll find my life in my own way today. Here I go, and there's no turning back. My great adventure has begun. I may be small, but I've got giant plans to shine brightly as the sun. I will blaze until I find my time and place. I will be fearless, surrender bring modesty and grace. I will not disappear without a trace. I'll shout and start a riot, be anything but quiet. Crush the fur, the locusts, I'll be astonishing, astonishing, astonishing. At
So that was no more, no less than McKenna, one of the students, one of the Valley Youth Theater teams. She was incredible. I mean, I'm sorry, the technology is not the best because of the connection, but you can check the whole live broadcast. If you go to vyt.com, it's 9 hours of entertainment with local talents or local kids, plus an interview with Emma Stone that Gina Cook and her husband John did at the very end of the fundraiser. They are right now on $215,000, a little bit shy to the $250 that it was that they were set, that Bob Cooper set for the fundraiser. So you can go to vyt.com, check it out, and if you feel inclined to donate, that would be great, because we have to keep the world of arts alive. Sorry for all these. This is what I had as a surprise for you guys just starting. But anyway, you saw my introduction to our LETITIA FYRE, who's going to be joining us. Oh, by the way, this is the camera. This is our dining room. This is all iPads and stuff. So I wanted you guys to see it. So we're going to go back to LETITIA FYRE. Let's see if we can connect with her now. Hello. Are you there?
Hi,
can we hear you?
Me,
Are you there?
Oscar?
Yes.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. This is technology.
Can you hear me?
101.
Yes. Good.
Yes. So I see that you are kind of like on your pajamas.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I just came home from work right before we did this. The days are so long that it's always good to just get in something soft and comfortable and sit in a comfy chair. And I figured that it was the best way for us to spend some time on this Wednesday night together.
Yes, thank you for accepting my invitation. This is such an occasion. Sorry for all the technical stuff, but I just wanted to surprise you with the video. But I wanted to play it again because, by the way, that's my gift to you, so you can use it, because I can see your life on a 360 degrees all throughout. So while you talk to Duke about your Wi-Fi to see if he can help you with your Wi-Fi, because we have a little bit of a delay with your Wi-Fi, let's see if we can play the video again so you can see it, and then we'll bring you back, because I have a design question for you, and I know you love design. Okay. So I'm going to play the video again.
I do.
We'll see you in 1 second. Okay. And we're back. And I'm sorry I needed to play it again because I can see your life. I know all this. So,
Yep.
first and foremost, how has it been? Take a deep breath. Tell us about what has been happening.
Okay, so first of all, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Is that better? Because we adjusted a bunch. I first of all want to say thank you for those memories because so many of them involve you, but also so much of it is telling towards what would happen today, including that picture you once made me take with those headphones on, long before my book was
Yeah.
published, when you said one day when you do your audiobook, you remember this scene. And funny enough, I did my audiobook 2 weeks ago. So, very telling. Um, hey, everybody. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but I'm going to tell you something about Oscar. He takes things on himself and they come out beautifully, but he is a work in progress. It's a very open work in progress, always very honest. And kudos to you. By the way, the graphics are amazing. Everything's amazing. A couple of flips of some switches and we'll work the rest out. So it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. COVID, wow. In my household, we call it the Corona coaster. That is the loving nickname we've given it because it really, I would say that only two times in my life could possibly compare to what this is, and they both involved volunteering on trips to Haiti. Haiti is an environment in which there's really little to no structure, whether it's through, mail systems, garbage systems, government systems. You literally can go through a day and you can feel elated and then depressed and then frustrated. And around 5 o'clock, you're like, remember yesterday when we were doing that? And they're like, no, that was this morning. So when I left Haiti twice, I remember thinking, anyone that ever went there asked me, what am I in for? I said, well, if you're not someone that doesn't like the roller coaster of emotions, it's not a place for you. And when the coronavirus hit and we entered this pandemic, I happened to have just had coffee to a woman who's married to a man from Haiti. And in the first week, I called her and I said, this feels like Haiti. And he said the same thing. It is a lack of structure, a lack of all those things that denote what is normalcy to you, the emotions that go high, they go low, the exhaustion, the elation. And so it is all of that, yet in that same balance, which I would equate to my volunteer trips to Haiti, there is so much that has been gained and so much that has been lost. It has very much been a whirlwind from the multitude of my industry as a fundraiser professionally in the auction industry is turned completely upside down.
Hmm.
However, the pivots and the new technology that have birthed through this pandemic that were not necessarily meant for live streaming were taken that way and been
Hmm.
tremendous successes. The actual nonprofits that forged forward in utilizing these have set the precedence as we one day maybe come back to the new normal, that people will now sometimes choose this over what we used to do or integrate
Hmm.
it. So those are very exciting parts. And then there is the idea of those that refuse to give up, those that really
Hmm.
refuse to give in. And there's such admiration in these trailblazers that went. I'm often, Oscar, reminded my kids, with one that was supposed to be in college right now and is home taking classes, and the other in high school. They were talking about studying things like the Great Depression. There were more millionaires made in the Great Depression than any other time in US history. And I feel like for the nonprofit industry, there's probably more advancements made for our industry in the midst of this complete um, upside down, unbelievable financial and emotional upheaval will ultimately lead to the greatest advancements I think that we will see in this industry, probably in 3 to 4 lifetimes.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. It's so you're telling me things that we're supposed to be talking through the show as we go. Sorry for being late once again. And it's true. I take things to my heart. And this is an introduction of what I can do with my little clicks here and there. Technically difficult, but it's the times of COVID. You reinvent yourself, or like me, my anxiety, because there's no other way to express it, of being in front of my community and know what you're doing and how are you facing this situation that you can teach other people or you can be inspiration to others as how to do the life within the time of COVID or the times of coronavirus. We've never planned this. This was never
Nope.
planned. So this is totally different to all of us. And if anything goes back bad or on a different route right now, is a huge issue. So I'm thinking right now of the people that are in the coast and the Atlantic that perhaps they're going to
Mm.
get a hurricane, or what happened in Lebanon, for example. Within all this, what is happening, we have the virus, and now if something happens, it really shakes us to the bottom. I mean,
Mhm.
we have to like stay together and stand together. But
Yep.
you just mentioned something about COVID. Every single person that I'm going to be having with me in this conversation, without technical difficulties, is going to answer is going to answer to one quick thing, which is the pivot. So let me do a quick introduction because I have to cut these on segments for what is coming next. So we're going to talk about that pivot. So these are all inspirational images to go into the next segment. This is the segment that you are going to tell me, how are you pivoting? We saw during the video, the intro video, that you are working with Inspired Media's 360, Carrie Pena, in a lot of the local, I would assume. Are you doing national
Oh
broadcasts
yeah.
for other
No, even
nonprofits?
with Carrie, it's been great. I've even been able this world is so exciting because we've even been able to take, because Carrie's doing such a good job, and there's a variety of different studios. I've gone on location at others, but we recently, just a little while ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, we took a polo match that takes place every year in Jackson Hole, and we did it from here in Phoenix in Carrie's studio, Inspired Media 360, and we're able to combine the two. So it's the answer, like most answers in COVID, is not necessarily one direct answer. In other words, sometimes we are here and all of us are here locally. Sometimes we're actually broadcasting events that are somewhere else and combining our pre-taped with live and doing it from here. And other times I've been flown to Nashville to be with major recording artists. I just returned last night from Los Angeles to do a huge event in LA. I'll be on my way next weekend to do my first true hybrid, which I'm lovely to tell you about, for Race to Race MS, which is one of the largest and most star-studded events of Hollywood, that would be at the Beverly Hilton and now is driving at the Rose Bowl. So, I mean, there's so many exciting different pivots, but the answer is that yes, Phoenix has proven itself to become and launch forward. Many of the platforms and the studios that have taken over the market have come right from here.
So the one thing that I admire of you is reinventing yourself and going to the next step or the extra step, like reinventing myself. I've done it many times, not many times.
Yeah.
I think I have used my talents to move parallel in life with my profession, and it's just a natural thing for you, and it's a natural thing for me, and to many other people watching. But the pivot of the COVID is, how do you walk into an airport now? How do you feel in an airport, or when you go into a plane? You know that I went through a tough one, 3 months of
Yep,
recovery
I
because
do.
I
I
supposed to
do.
have it. But my question to you is, how do you feel now getting into a plane, going into the airport?
Well, for
How is
one,
it?
it's very depressing, to be totally
Hmm.
honest.
Yeah.
I It's almost as if, I mean, you know how much I worked. I mean, for those of you that are listening, I do 113 plus events a year normally. I could be on 11 flights in 7 days. I
Hmm.
lived in airports, didn't take much of it, noticed which ones I liked. To walk into an empty airport, to look at a few people boarding a plane, to see, it's just like a decimation. It's hard not to take that into your own soul of like, wow. I mean, and yet I think that you feel that it could have, it's so unbelievable that the mind has a hard time wrapping itself around it, and yet you're in it. But then you think to yourself, how many times did I actually complain that I was up off on this, that, moving at the speed of light, and what I wouldn't give for just a fraction of it back, just a
Hmm.
fraction of the excitement, the fraction of the normalcy. It saddens me, it really does. You push forward. I mean, by all means, you find new sources of joy and new sources of what is the new normal, and I'm certainly no stranger to that. I've wrote a whole book on it, but it
Hmm.
doesn't mean that it's not there. It's there, and it's very obvious when you walk into something like Terminal 4 at what is known as America's friendliest airport, Phoenix Sky Harbor, and it's a ghost town.
Yeah,
It's
well,
hard.
and I think we have an issue with your feed. I can hear you, but then we have a little bit of a delay with the image, with the video itself. But I think it's going to go better in few seconds. It's trying to catch up. So typical, right? We're trying to figure it out all through all this. But I'm listening. We're listening to what you're saying. One thing that I have learned from America and Americans is that creativity and ingenuity of this country is incredible. And I think that we're going through a tough one right now, but we will move forward. And I love that because that's who Letitia Frye is the ingenuity and the creativity. I mean, that, like I'm telling you, to get all that video, there were so many images. I mean, captured from the internet. That's why the low resolution is there. But the amount of input that you have in so many ways and to so many people is tremendous. And we appreciate that as a community. And when I was putting all the lists together, I have to have Letitia with me. But I wanted to take a quick stop here because not only you have all these people around you that you have a circle of influence, you also have people that basically you looked upon directly, like you look at
Mhm.
them directly and then move them through life. You are an inspiration to them. You are kind of a tutor. You're kind of the person that is an inspiration and move them through life. And I want to introduce to you someone very special to me, very special to us. And if I tell you that we have Courtney Bennett with us, hey, Courtney,
Hi.
Ah, hi,
Hi,
I
Phil.
wanted
Court.
to have this conversation live on a broadcast because I wanted Courtney to express directly from her as a surprise to you what does it
Aw.
mean to be close to Letitia Frye.
Thank you, Oscar. Hi, Tish.
Hey, babe.
You know, over the years, thanks to your mentorship and then what has become a friendship, I have truly flourished in embracing the community. And I'll never forget what you said about me in the 1 in 10 video. And these words are ringing in my ears and I can almost repeat them, but that because of your guidance and this guiding light and star that you've been, I have not only been able to dive into this nonprofit world, but I've given it my heart and my soul and everything about who I am and my being, with you as the kind of picture of what I want to embody. And it's not only about carrying out the mission of my man Tito and our Love Tito's mission, but it's about becoming the person that I want to be and the woman that I am today and a philanthropist in my community. And it's the way I was raised, but truly you helped me hone in on it as an adult, as a person who makes her own decisions and has the ability and the resources and the capability to do good for my community. And without you as my mentor, leader, guiding star, light, I don't know if I would have truly found myself back on that path. And truly, like, I will never forget our day at the big McCormick Ranch. And you know, it was, I knew I had something. And then when I met you and you plucked me out and we had to connect, and it was like this beautiful, spicy black book of every single piece of good that we could do together that's only yielded more and more. And what's happened from that, Letitia Frye, and the relationships that you've helped me build and the doors that you've opened for me personally and professionally, we have built something incredible within my company. We have become the leaders of giving and the pillars of philanthropy. And there are people around the country and now around the globe that are with my company that saw you speak to us in Scottsdale, and then, oh my God, she does the auction for us in Nashville or in Manhattan Beach. And it comes full circle for a lot of people, but I truly am blessed to call you my own and a dear friend, and first and foremost, someone very pivotal in my life, not to mention one of my favorite Scorpios.
Court, that means the world to me. Oscar, you sneaky man. It means so much to me. Courtney, I have watched you blossom into not just a young woman of influence and a young woman that has risen in her company, but also just as a person that found and sought out their own sense of value beyond just what they do as a profession, and put their heart and soul into just humanity as a whole. You have done unbelievable. You've literally moved mountains, but most importantly, you've moved your own mountain. To watch someone that moves their own mountain within while doing that is the greatest gift ever. So many people miss out on what the true value of the self is. And to watch you really hone in on that and grow as this incredible leader and friend and woman, but most importantly, to watch you grow within your relationship to yourself. That's amazing. It's amazing. It's beautiful.
So,
Thank you, Oscar.
so now I understand. Absolutely. Now I understand when I said that where you stand, you leave a mark, and even the
Mhm.
people that you mentor follow you. Letitia, it is not. This is a path that you created for you and for an entire community behind you. So
And
thank you.
truly, and everyone else in my company. I mean, we were the trailblazers for philanthropy, Letitia. I mean, because of you and how you mentored me and my past and all the community relations and everything. I mean, the Love Tito's entire philosophy basically was organically built on what you and I started, and we were given this little bit and we went a mile.
Oh,
And
no. And you know what? Kudos to the Tito's family and to Tito himself for recognizing that in you and realizing, wow, we can actually take this medium out in the world and change the world. I am so loyal to the brand. Orange pants tonight. I'm so loyal to the brand.
I have my wife here too. She doesn't want to be on camera though.
Oh, good Lord. Who's there? Sharon, what's going on? Oh,
Yeah.
God. Well, they were supposed to be going for dinner, and then I asked her to please check in. Sorry, I think he's late, but we had little
Oh,
issues.
that's okay.
But
It's perfect. We got out of there just in time. Let me
thank you.
tell
Oh, yeah, exactly. But
Love
thank
it.
you so much, Courtney, for checking in. I'm going to continue my conversation with Letitia because there's a lot of things that I wanted to ask
Love
her.
you, girl.
I love you so much, Oscar and Letitia.
Thank
Mwah.
you so much. See you soon. So, isn't this wonderful? How do
You
you
actually have a
feel?
lot of fun surprises on this. It's very emotional. I mean, even just the video you put together, it's just so many highlights and different things, of which I have to tell you, you are a major part of all of those. From designing looks to change through brands to change through, we've gone through a lot together, and I think that one of the things in this particular current state we're in is to recognize those people that now you're like, wow, now we're in a world pandemic and they've walked through so many. It's interesting when you're having individual crises, which you've had and I've had, but then you're
Mhm.
having them together at the same time. I mean, that's,
Correct.
yeah, it's a lot.
Correct. We had to walk this path, and that's when you need someone next to you or someone close to you. And I'm very happy that first of all you are my friend, and second of all that perhaps you are that person that if I go through the list, like, oh, you
Of
have to
course.
have Letitia Fry with you, and I'm like, of course you do, Letitia Fry with. But I just wanted to show you this quick image that it is one of my favorites. You go all the way way through when you do something. This is dancing for 1 and 10. And
Oh
hello
my.
to all my 1 and 10 fellows out there. Letitia Frye, she works, and actually you volunteer, you give your time
I do
for the
both.
nonprofit, for the Fresh Brunch, which is the biggest one that 1 and 10 has as a fundraiser. But you also did this for them. You raise funds for them. You go all the way through with the nonprofits.
They are one of my all-time favorites. In this particular moment, if you notice the black mark on or cast on my, I had a broken ankle. Anytime you're asked
Yes.
to do any form of dancing with the stars for someone, be careful what you ask for. It's an enormous undertaking. But 1 in 10 changed my life. They made me a better parent. They made me a better person. They're in my book. They taught me life skills that are, I mean, they've saved my life on a multitude of times. I mean, they are family to me. They are absolute family. And that's one of
So
my favorite memories in the world.
not only with them, but with every single nonprofit that you work with, you do your work. You go and learn
Mhm.
and understand what do they
At
do
least one day, at
at least
least
one
one
day,
day of volunteering.
and then what? So at least one day. Hold it right there, because I before COVID, I wanted to talk to you about a day in the life of Letitia, which is going to bring me to something else that we're going to talk about, which is the Wonder Years.
Oh my.
And I know that girl who was driving that car.
Do you know how many Mini
That's
Coopers I've had? Oh my goodness.
that's a classic. Here's Letitia. Oh my God, the Mini Cooper at some point. There she's super like going around town, and then now she has this big truck. So I
No,
know
the
that you
truck is now Duke's. I'm now in my mom Jeep.
well, you have a mom gym. It was fantastic. I mean, it's like you. I mean, that's what I wanted a day in your life before COVID, and even now. You start your day running, and then tell us the reason why you go out running, and then we'll talk about what happened in one of those days that you were running.
So, many people believe that, like, whether it's meditation, which I do, and praying,
Mhm,
which I do, and Church of the Mind. I personally just I don't go to church unless sometimes once in a while. I work every Sunday
mhm.
normally, so my running is the Church of the Mind. It's that place where the entire mind and I have to be out in nature. Now, right now, I'll be honest, it's kind of funny what you complained about before COVID and then you welcome after COVID. I used to always complain about running when I was on the road in gyms. I just couldn't wait to get into nature. Well, this summer I've been extraordinarily concerned about skin cancer and skin because all the gyms were closed. I've been out running 60 to 70 miles a week in 116-degree heat in the sun. That's not healthy. So, now that the gyms are open, I'm like glad to be back indoors. But either way, predominantly in nature, it can happen in a gym. But that's my meditation. That's my meditative state of tuning into things that feed my mind and really connecting into the way that the universe kind of brings you need to call this person, you need to think of this. It's my time, it's my equilibrium of life. It is the common denominator of when I calm, whether
Hmm.
that's on the road or at home in crises or not. It is my common denominator to calm running, and I
And
started
then
when
you
I was
run,
about 7 years old.
and then you, oh, since you were 7. So I know
Yeah.
that you run. Oh, wow. So you run every morning, either you are here in town or you are traveling, you always run. And then in one of those runs, something happened. You happened to have
Yeah.
an accident, and we all witnessed what happened with that accident. Can you tell us about what happened and what happened ever since?
Yeah. One of the biggest misnomers when you're a runner and people say, well, she got hit by a car, people assume that happened while I was running down the street. No, I was at a crosswalk. You could have been a walker, you could have been anybody. I mean, I was at a crosswalk bouncing around like the runners do that goofy run on Thanksgiving morning. And the car was stopped and I was stopped. I mean, everything was completely stopped. So there's a lot of people think, oh, well, she was running while she got hit. No, it was stopped. But as I stepped into the crosswalk to start again, that runner was running late to meet his parents, girlfriend's parents for the first time on Thanksgiving, and gunned it. And as he did, he gunned it into me. And he took me into oncoming traffic, and I was thrown like 50 feet in the air and then bounced off his car, and I split my head open. Long story short, I split my head open. You have no identification, you're out running, and I was unconscious on the side of the road with a head completely split open that needed staples and a level 1 trauma. That in some bizarre way down the road, which is something I think is so imperative understanding in COVID, and we'll get to that, Oscar, why
Yep.
I can see that as a blessing now. Hard to see at the
Hmm.
time, but as a blessing now.
Yeah, what happens with, like I said, this is a day in your life. Like
Yeah.
you, every day, you wake up, you do your morning coffee or
Yeah.
tea or juice or whatever, and you
Decaf
go on
only.
decaf only in this
Well,
case.
you know I'm already crazy.
I'm Colombian and I'm crazy, but I love coffee. So
I
my
can't do
point with
different.
that is that we like that's what I was trying to say or trying to do with this
Yeah,
piece of
running
the
is part of that.
segment. Correct. It's
Hmm.
like there's something that starts the engine and for you is running, but
Hmm.
we go through life like every day of our lives and we have to value now that we cannot do the things we're used to. Now we have to value them like completely, absolutely. And I feel that um, you learn from that situation that happened with the accident, and it changed your life. Now you relate to those people who have gone through or had an accident on a level 1 trauma like the one that you had.
Hmm.
We all
Yeah.
witnessed the whole thing happening, but
Oh, you did in particular. I mean,
yeah,
you
me in
you you walked
particular.
through many. You walked through many of the. Well, I mean, it was a series of tragedies, and you were right there with me.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
which is really hard to watch. You know.
But that's what makes us strong and makes us solid. I mean, you learn from situations like the one that happened to you, and also from the situation that happened recently to you and the kids by losing your husband, um, um, and the kids right now just figuring out life without a father. But they
Hmm.
are strong kids. You raise very strong kids, and we all like hats off to you for doing that. I love the two of them, and
No, they
I
love you.
just oh God, they are my kids, so I call them. But I want to go quickly to something that I call. Remember, I told you the Wonder Years.
Yeah. Go.
And I told you we're gonna just talk like briefly about this. So that was a picture that I found on the internet, and it was
Yep.
you with the kids, the early days with the kids. Um, can you tell us a little bit what happened since he died, and then what how is life now?
Yeah. It's really interesting because it was 5 years last month.
Hmm.
Which is
Oh
so
yeah.
strange,
Hmm.
Oscar, if you think that
Yep.
it was you that was, when I walked through a mall and had no idea I was going to get a dress for a funeral to deliver a eulogy in front of my children, it was you that walked me through there.
Yep.
Steve was an incredible part of my life. We were best friends since we were kids. Went on to boyfriend girlfriend, went on to husband wife, and then to parents, and then ultimately separated, but still maintain that. And there are definitely parts of life. Look, it's life,
Hmm.
but that doesn't defer any of my love or my children's love for him at all. He ended up taking his life, and it's been such a lesson in so many ways. I think that when you lose someone to a personal choice, you're left with such confusion and feelings of anger, maybe wonderment, loss. But I think overall, in time with the children and I, what we really realize is that the last motion that you land on is just love, understanding,
Hmm.
and love, particularly once a pandemic shows up. And I mean, you think, can you really blame someone? What if every day of a normal life, when we weren't in a pandemic, felt like this to somebody just because they have emotional distress or suffer from chronic depression? What if the way we feel in COVID now, with the way that it is feeling so stressful, is how a person in normal life experiences life every day? Could you really blame them? No, I think that you ultimately come down to a place of love and understanding. You miss them, but at the same time you understand. I think that that's the ultimate lesson, is understanding that within us is the strength to not only go through it but grow through it, move through feelings that sometimes don't make sense, and then ultimately land on the fact that you choose to love. You choose to
Were
love
you
and
able to
understand.
write about it? Have you written about it? Is it part of your book? I'm sorry, I haven't read the
Yep.
book yet, but I just wanted to know if you were able to, on your book, your latest book, No Reserve, Letitia Frye, available in Amazon. I know that, but I
Yep.
just want to know if you were able to write about it in your book,
I,
and what do you write about that particular moment in
you know,
life?
Oscar, I just did the audiobook, which is really interesting. Most people are not. I got a wonderful publisher, Sound Wisdom Publishing, which is a huge publisher, very unusual for a first time author. And for me, also as a first time author, to be allowed to be the voice of my own audiobook. We just did this about a week ago, Inspired Media 360 again. Um, in when we hit that point, I realized I do not dwell upon it and I really touch upon it lightly, but the emotion is so raw and so there. So, yes, any of the adversities or tragedies or different things I've faced are in the book, but they are not what the book is about. I literally touch upon them. In fact, all of them get touched upon in one chapter, just boom, 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 boom. And because it's not what that's about. Everyone's going to face their own, especially now, we're all facing it. What it is more about is what the tools were to come out of any of that. So I do actually touch upon it, but I don't dwell upon it. And it's very fast, but I do actually, it's chapter 6. And it's funny because at the time, going through the audio, you kind of forget, I do reread and do my book because there's all these exercises, and I literally redo it all the time, as many people do and tell me, because it gets your mind back in the right spot.
Yep.
When we were hitting it, I got to this part, and I remember thinking, is this, because we were going to take a break halfway through at chapter 6, because there's 13 chapters. So I was thinking, I think this is it. And it comes, I, with the help of my editor, decided just load it up all at once. Just go boom, boom, boom. So the, accident, the death, another death that you know about. So it's quick, but it's impactful. And yes, it's not so much about what happened. It's more about what the tools are that anyone can use through adversity to come through that better for it.
So is this different than the previous book, A Walk in Her Shoes, in some way, or are
As
you still giving the
so
same type of writing?
Interestingly enough, what we
Mhm.
did is that it's funny. I do have two books, one that's still to release, but A Walk in Her Shoes and No Reserve ended up being the same book. It took me 9 years to mold in and create that into it, and No
Yeah.
Reserve was the one that got published. I have a second book that I'm working on that's almost finished now. That's called Fair Market Value. So in my books, being in the auction industry and in the nonprofit as an auctiontainer, all of my books will be monikered as auction terminology. So we took what
Okay.
was and created what and kind of melded them through, and now we have another one coming out as well. So it's actually just great metaphors through my industry to help people relate to what are the things that are blocking you. So yeah, it's kind of become my thing to utilize the career that I have and take what people know me as, and then create books that are based upon terminology from that in order to best explain it in really layman terms, like really easy terms.
So basically, you are continuing on leaving a legacy. This time through a book. You are continuing on telling people, or telling your people that read you or read your books, how can they utilize the tools that
Yes,
you have for your profession
it's a
in their
roadmap.
personal life. It's a roadmap.
So
So, but go ahead.
well, I was just going to explain to you, Oscar, in traditional publishing, which is almost unheard of to get a deal now, I
Yeah.
got that deal a year and a half plus ago, and they announced, well, your release date will be 7/6/20. And you're thinking to yourself, July 6th of 2020. I mean, what does that mean? Well, ironically, although the ebook launched earlier because people were stuck at home, this book is literally a roadmap out of COVID. It is literally a set of tools on how you get out of adversity through grief, through a financial upheaval, through a personal or identical upheaval. And literally, my publisher picked that date. I don't have anything to do with that. And the reviews that are coming through, the head reviewer from Amazon, it was the number one pick on Goodreads for weeks, that people are saying this book is helping them through this pandemic. There's no way to plan that. Nobody
Yeah.
planned that. Nobody knew that. So at some point, you kind of think to yourself, no, it's not about the deaths or the accident. It's about how do you
Yeah.
get through that and grow through that. And then ultimately it gets launched at a time where not just America, the whole world. I have people reading my book that send me messages from Australia and Poland and Brazil because they're going through it too. And it ultimately makes me feel like, okay, so all those trials and tribulations, and you wrote down, because people ask me, Oscar, and you were one of them, how do you keep getting back up? I mean, it's one thing to face one thing. Okay, so you have been hit by a car, and then you have a death, and you have financial abuse, and you have a divorce, and another suicide. How do you keep getting up? So I kept writing down how I do it. So now as COVID has hit, you have this lovely little roadmap in a very easy, I made sure that it was thin, nothing intimidating, no overly or overtly confusing language, because I wanted people that are included in the book that I mentored off of forklifts and, working at Circle K with barely a 7th grade education. They read it. I wanted it to be accessible to teens, accessible to elderly, accessible to those, whether you have a Harvard degree or barely went through school. And some people read it in a day. Some people take 3 months. Some people take more. And then most people reread it because I did exercises at the end of each chapter to help you. And I myself am probably on my 50th time of returning to those exercises again, because they reset your mind in the midst of COVID. They help get you clarity.
So basically, we're going to be reading kind of your journal or your exercise journal that you apply yourself to the day-to-day
Exactly.
life, right?
Exactly.
Very interesting, because usually when you read these kind of books, it's just like the author tells you what to do, and then they turn around and then they go write another book, and then you're like, okay, well, you left me here. I wanted to
No.
work with you what I'm going through. So given the circumstances, you are not going to be able to launch the book in front of an auditorium. I would assume that was the next step to all this. Are you going to host any type of virtual release, any type of like workshops even? Because if it's a roadmap, it will be great to tune in to just to hear from you. How do you do all these, and what are your steps basically?
Well, it's really interesting, Oscar, because you wait forever. As a
Hmm.
first-time author too, it's very rare to get airport stores, and I
Sure.
got an airport stores, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Goodreads. I mean, there was just countless, and you're thinking, oh my goodness. Not, and then I thought, book signings and this. So actually, the publicity on this has been tremendous, but the invitations are coming for me to speak on a virtual basis because I literally will teach you these. I speak all over. I just got called today from manufacturing, normally gather in person every other year in Chicago for 510,000 people, of which each of
Wow.
them represent a different industry, an aviation industry, and different, because it's the manufacturing machines that produce whatever it is you're doing. They actually called to ask me if I'd be part of a speaker series to help those people, even though there are multiple different industries,
Yeah.
and the manufacturing industry is the umbrella over it. That's 510,000 people trying to figure out, how do I successfully handle the adversities, not only through my business, but in my personal life. And I'm thinking, wow, how did I create these set of 10 practices that can be used and reused to reset yourself, whether you choose to do that in a relationship, whether you choose to do that in a loss of a relationship, in grief, in financial upheaval, in your business. It doesn't matter how you apply them. It doesn't matter. They work for every single aspect, which is really bizarre timing. So to answer your question, there are all kinds of virtual speaking engagements that I'm being asked to do to various audiences. A lot of people, I was amazed. Even if you go on Amazon and look at the reviews, I really thought that women would resonate with the book, and they do. But I was shocked at how many men have resonated with the book, and some are in their 80s and 70s and 60s. I really wasn't prepared for that. I really thought that this, I've been called in this new age of speaking, I've been calling a women empowerment expert, a moniker I didn't really create or think of, but I can understand it by being a self-made woman through divorce and what I survived. But I never anticipated the male audience that I'm getting in business, and the male audience that through COVID, that many of whom identified themselves with, I am a lawyer or I am the provider, and it got flipped upside down, which is something I address in the book. And the men have been so overwhelmingly supportive. They write me, they contact me. Most of my reviews are by men. I was shocked,
And
which is
this is
nice to
a
know it has that
typical
diversity.
this is atypical for you because I know your
Hmm.
connection is very close to women in a sense, but also to businessmen, if you would, because there is the businesswoman out of all this. So tell me or tell us um, that position, being a woman in front of a crowd, and then being an auctioneer first, that later on became the auction tainer. So you broke through. How did you decided to go into auction, and how do you put yourself in front of all these people and then just go at it?
Yeah, Oscar, this has been like a divine journey since the beginning. None of this was planned, and all of this backstory is in the book about literally, it was an act of God, to be honest. The first time I ever auctioned, I was there as an MC, and the auctioneer didn't show up, and there are so many series of things that took me to stage to stage to stage, which are now doing the same as both an author and a speaker. Um, but once you find something that ignites your soul, that makes you feel so alive, as you know, you're no stranger to it,
Mhm.
you latch on. You latch on, even if
Yeah.
the corridors it's going to take you down are scary, and if anything, they are ripping you apart in order to create you better, rather than being some sort of comfortable hallway. They're not. So I went at this not anticipating to suddenly blaze through what is now known and taught auctiontainment, which is something Alice Cooper came up with after watching me warm up. It is now an actual, literally, you can Google it. It is taught, it is a mainstream methodology. I'm thrilled to know so many people that wanted to do that. And it was very, I don't want to say accidental so much as really something far more. It was divine. It was just an occurrence that was so organic in how it happened. And so then that often, now to be have that moniker and have people that study it and follow it, it's very humbling. It's very humbling. And so now you're I'm pivoting into this other space with it. And honestly, the pivot I took in the midst of COVID, because most of my industry laid down. I mean, most when
Yeah.
we got hit, I mean, we
Yeah.
require large mass gatherings. And so for me, I refused to lay down, and I decided to research what are the answers to large, I mean, what it's like to watch a nonprofit that's my largest client for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, that's doing like 1.4 billion in a year of fundraising, go, what these children and families aren't, they don't pay, that we can't stop. So I started to just pivot and research all these different new platforms that we could possibly create the new and virtual space. So again, a very organic experience, a very
Yep.
divine touched experience, from basically how one mother of two kids that's married and running a children's clothing store, who's modeling and working on the news, suddenly becomes an auctioneer, that becomes an auction tainer, that becomes an author, that becomes a speaker, that hits a pandemic, that then pivots into this new virtual space to take the fundraising world into this entirely new heightened direction, of which they will integrate moving forward. Teaching people how to handle adversity. This is a very humbling journey, and also one that's been very difficult to live, because no one can actually truly impart or help anyone in any of these avenues we've talked about unless you've lived it. And living it is
Hmm.
very painful. Um,
Hmm.
so it has not been easy. I know you yourself have watched me go through extraordinary lows, only to come out on highs. I've watched you yourself, your beloved husband, with the same. I think it's just, it is extraordinary to embrace the human experience when you're being guided by something far beyond just that. And that's what I think this whole journey has been. It's not about me. It has nothing to
So
do with me.
you said it
And
clearly is
it's
organic, and
beautiful.
then that's that. Some of us
Hmm.
plan life. You have to have a plan. You have to have a goal. You have to direct yourself to some point.
Ah, yeah.
But
The
yeah,
5 year plan.
yeah,
The
exactly. Look, well, the 5 year plan is. That's my point too. Like,
five
look where we
year
are.
plan.
But yeah, out
I
of the
can't even do the 5 day plan anymore.
but out of the 5 year plan, when I just announced that you were my guest today for whatever I'm doing now, it seems like Gary calls this a show. Gary's like, are you ready for the show? And I'm like, whatever show is, with all the technical difficulties and everything, it is what I wanted to do is just to connect with the community and talk to those people that I'm not seeing day to day and get inspired myself by other people. So I just went into a search. How do I do? No, call, not. I mean, we're on Zoom calls and all that stuff. So it's like, what do I do? It's like,
I'm
why
proud
do
of
I?
you.
Yeah, it's
I'm
like, well,
proud of you, Oscar.
just yeah, well, I just like had to do it. I know that I had to do it, but the reason that I decided to do this and connect is because I am amazed of how are we connecting are we connected to each other, and how are we connecting through social media. Sometimes, like right
My
now,
earphone just
very
died.
difficult moment for social media,
My
but
earphone just died, and Charles called and interrupted us. Oh God,
can you
my
hear
earphone
can
just
you hear
died.
me? We can see you, we can hear you, and we can see you. So I don't know if we're going to change phones, but I was about to ask a very good question to Letitia Fry, because I received some questions, but I want you guys to help me with this research that I'm doing. I need you guys to help me to either vote A or B on this design. Um, and I'm going to ask Letitia, who's back. She's
Oh,
back with us or
Trisha.
not? Is she
Oh
back?
my
No, she's not.
God.
Let's check. We're going to check if you guys can help me with a paper that I'm writing. I know you guys know that I'm an architect, that I worked with interiors and with architecture. But knowing what we know today, I need you to help me on voting either A or B in one of those on these designs. There's two designs. That's the help that I need. We could hear you. You're totally fine, but that's the
Oh,
help that I
Oscar.
need from all of you. I'm writing a paper that talks about those two spaces. They're
I
very
can't hear
similar.
you. That's the problem. You can hear me and I can't hear you.
Oh, you can hear me?
No.
Oh, but okay, there is a volume button there. You can squeeze the little button. Can you hear me? Where is
I
Duke? I can tell. I don't have Duke's number. So let's see if you guys can help me. Let me see who is commenting. We have some people. So you can send us your questions and you can use the chat option. I think. Can you hear me? No?
I have no idea. I obviously you can hear me. I can't hear you at all. No clue what happened to the audio or that
Okay.
you can hear me say anything about it.
Uh,
Suddenly I've dropped you.
So that's you were totally fine. We could see you and we could hear you. I can see you and I can hear you. I can see you and I can
I
hear
know
you.
you can see me and you can hear me.
So I need
You
some
need cue
help.
cards right now to ask me questions.
So is
Or
either A
text Duke.
or text Duke. Okay, send me his number on the chat. I just don't know what else. You can send me the number, but I have Courtney Bennett. Perhaps Courtney can help me if she can text, but I can see Courtney having. This is so funny. I love technology because she left the computer on with the screen, and I can see Courtney Bennett from here. She's having titas. It's very fun.
I wish I could hear you.
You can hear me?
I
Okay,
can't
so
hear you.
let's try
We're
again.
trying, Duke. I can't hear him.
Okay, so I'm going to check with Letitia. Let me call her, but in the
Text
meantime,
Duke the questions. I can't hear you.
yeah. So then I'm gonna text a question: A or B? And I need you guys help with A
A
or
or
B.
B?
Correct. Yes. I need to know out
Don't
of
know what the
these.
question is.
look? That's the question. It's coming. Okay.
Okay, so I can't hear you, but I can see. So, you know what's interesting, Oscar? When I've actually been to your site on choice A. Um, when I initially look at A and B, I am the old pre-COVID me is just so drawn to A. That's like what I would always be, and I've been there, and it's great. But there's something that's happened in the midst of COVID that makes me want something fresh and new. It makes me want something different and innovative. So I would never, had we had this interview prior to COVID, ever have picked B, but I picked B. My perception has changed and my needs have changed and what I consider aesthetically pleasing has changed because in some ways when I look at A, I'm reminded of the memories and things from the past and it's a little painful. I actually want to embrace the new. So never would I have ever picked B, but on this particular show, at this time in COVID, I picked B.
Very interesting. Like, very interesting. And I know you cannot hear me, but you will hear
I know.
this
We're
and
playing Pictionary.
through, yeah, through the through, you will hear me. I think it's your headset, but what I wanted to say here is that I'm not voting for either or. I am not on A or I don't know how you say B on sign language, but it's what you guys are, your perception of the space, not only the design but also knowing what we know today and knowing that perhaps this is just a moment in time and it's not going to last forever. So I need to write a paper, a one-page paper that I'm going to turn in, and I need at least 1500. I said 1000. I think it's 1500 responses. So I'm asking everyone, so if you want to go on the comments and type which one you like, I would really appreciate that. So it is 9:30.
Yep, it's time.
It is late. We love you, but
I love
before
you.
we say goodbye, wait a minute. I want to introduce our next. Oh my God, I wish I knew sign language right now. I don't know how. Next week's guest. We're
The
going to
next
introduce our
step.
next, yes, next week. Here we go.
What's next for me?
And then next week, we're going to have Mr. Joe Spector, who is the president and general director of Arizona Opera. So Joe is a wonderful friend, and then we're going to have him next week with us. Letitia, thank you.
Thank
I know
you.
you cannot hear me. Sorry, I'm so sad for all the
I know.
technical difficulties, but it was a pleasure to have you.
I
We're
love
going to
you.
say, love you
Very
too.
proud of you.
Thank you. I'm
Cheers.
gonna have a monologue to close. Thank you for being with us, but thank you so much. So that was Letitia Frye. I know you guys love Letitia Frye. I love her like dearly, and I just wanted to first of all take the time to say I'm sorry. This is let me show you. I'm just gonna show you because I just wanted to. You guys. going on there? Can you believe? I'd never ask her. We lost Letitia today, and that will be another show, hopefully, or another hour with Letitia just to figure out what happened there. But I think she did it because they are very good friends. Johnny Depp and Letitia figure it out. But all these women from all over, I wish I can show you the screen. I have, it's like, well, how many people we have right now? 17, 1752. So 1,752 people watching. They are just all commenting. And then I'm sure this is the question they're all asking. But once again, I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm learning as I go about all this. So that's the picture. Not one, but two. But I just wanted to say thank you so much. We will have our friend Joe Spector next week with us, and I hope I can learn next week how to do all this with no problem. It is 9:33 p.m. I'm gonna sign off because my husband is waiting for me upstairs, and he's like, enough with the show. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.